My brother keeps a human head in his closet. Every few days, it's a new head.
What would you do if your brother is a serial killer? That's the American horror film Found of 2012, written and directed by Scott Shermer. It is based on the novel by the same name by Todd Whitney. The film is narrated by 12-year-old Marty, and it's shown to his perspective, which is actually, it's really unique and it's really good. So it's Marty, it's his brother Steve, his older brother Steve, and then his mom and his dad. I don't think they have an actual name. So basically, one day, Marty goes in his brother's room to find a bowling ball, so he can get bowling, so he can go bowling, and instead he finds a human head. The premise of the movie, or the story of the movie, that's actually really good. I wonder how Scott came onto this idea, because it's terrifying to think about if you actually think about it. So Marty discovers that his brother is a serial killer, but he doesn't say anything. Obviously, it's his older brother, so he doesn't want him to get into trouble, you know. One day, Marty goes with his mom to the Blockbuster store, I think it is. Good times. And he goes to rent a movie, or rent horror movies, you know, he likes horror movies. And he finds the movie Headless, but the DVD is empty. And he later discovers that his brother, Steve, has the actual DVD. So he watches the movie with his friend, David, and it's basically the most disgusting thing he has ever seen, you know? And that's when Marty realizes, hey, the serial killer in the movie does the same thing as his brother Steve. So he wonders, was Steve inspired by Headless? Is that why he took the DVD? Like he never returned it? Is that why he wears a mask when he kills his people? Is that why he cuts off their heads? Is that why he has his thing with the heads, if you know what I mean? Is that why he gouges out the eyes of his victims afterwards? You would think so, yes.
My life is starting to feel like a horror movie. But who's the monster? Is it Dad? Is it Steve? Is it me?
The actual Headless scene, or the few clips we see of the movie, within the movie, I can't really describe it because it's definitely too graphic for YouTube. But if you look it up, like you can find it if you look it up, if you read about it, you would think that's actually pretty extreme, pretty disgusting. But if you watch the actual scene in the movie, it's not that bad, because the effects, let's just say the effects are not that great. So it's actually not that bad. But this makes me wonder, like, how fucked up are some people, like in the real world, to cut someone's head off? Like, actually picture it, actually think about it. How messed up you have to be to cut someone's head off. Like, for me, it's unthinkable, you know? But this stuff really happens, and it's crazy to think about it. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, Marty is into drawing, basically. Like, he draws graphic novels with his friend David. And the movie opens, actually, or the opening of the movie, the intro of the movie, is like his graphic novel made into an animation. And I think that's really unique, but also incredibly well made. So whoever made this animation, props to that person, because that's an amazing scene and it's really well done. Also, this movie is actually really heartbreaking if you watch it. Marty gets bullied in school. He has no friends except for David, but even that person ends up leaving him because he gets bullied, which just makes it so much worse, you know?
I don't believe in God anymore. God wouldn't let one of his children be treated this way, especially me. I'm always good at church. I'm always good at school. I'm quiet and I get good grades. And I'm always the one that gets treated bad. So how can I believe in God?
His mother doesn't really care about him. At the beginning, his mother was a bit more caring, but at the end, like she basically, how do you say? She basically treats him like a baby, basically. His dad doesn't give a fuck about him. He's also racist, which is obviously worse. Also, later we find out that his brother, Steve, is also racist, and that's because of his dad. So, yeah, their father basically telling them over and over again about how bad black people are. Inserts into Steve's head that that's the truth, and that's why he only kills black women. So, great job there, Dad, you know? So Steve is also racist. But then again, that brings up the question, how are serial killers made? That's of course one thing we still haven't figured out in the real world, but in this movie you can pretty much say that it is indeed his upbringing, Steve's upbringing. Is that being racist, which made Steve racist, which made him hate black women, which made him take his rage out on the women. But obviously, just because you're racist doesn't mean you're a killer. He watches Headless, gets inspired by the movie. So it does exactly what the killer in Headless does. So I think for the movie Found, you can actually tell how Steve became the way he became. In the real world, it's a bit different. Like, to be inspired by a movie to actually murder someone, I think that's two different things. I think if you can't distinguish reality and fiction, then there's already something wrong with your head. But I mean, Steve is a psychopath, though. He just not the way he kills his people, but also there's a scene with him and his brother. Like, we know that he actually cares about Marty, and at the end, when he realizes, after he kills Marty's parents or their parents, that he hurt Marty instead of actually helped him, freed him, like he said, he completely loses it and goes into complete psycho mode. But then you wonder, and that's a controversial, wouldn't say opinion, but question, is Steve a good brother? You would think so, no, because he killed his parents, but then again, Steve is completely crazy. So, in his mind, him killing their parents, who treated Marty like shit, was only to help Marty. That's what he said, and I think that's also what he actually meant. In the movie, Marty gets bullied by a kid named Marcus, so Steve ends up killing Marcus for Marty. But then you can argue, did he kill Marcus because of Marty, or did he kill him because he was black? You know? But you can see throughout the whole movie that Marty is the only person that Steve actually cares about. He also says several times in the film itself that he would never hurt Marty, but then at the end, obviously, he hurts him, but not physically, but mentally. Alright, let's talk about his ending. I would argue that this movie has the most horrific ending of all time. I think it's definitely up there. Like, yeah, it's definitely up there. For anyone who has seen the movie, knows what I'm talking about. But if you have not seen the movie and are interested and don't want to watch the movie, I'm gonna tell you anyways. Like I said before, Steve kills Marty's parents or their parents because he wants to free him. It just ends up hurting him. So Steve goes completely nuts, and the movie ends with with Marty laying in bed with his parents, who both are dead, who have their head cut off, and who have their eyes removed from their skull. So it's just Marty in the middle, tied up in complete blood, with his two dead parents by his side. I would say that's pretty fucked up.
My mind wants to scream and kick and freak out, but I keep myself under control. If I lose it now, I might not come back for a long, long time. Stuff like this can really warp a person.
I remember the first time I saw this ending, I was completely shook. To be fair, I hadn't seen that many horror films the first time I saw this movie, so it was a straight punch, if you know what I mean. Like, going from something like Insidious to this is a big difference. So I remember the first time I saw it, I was in complete shock, and I just lied there for literally minutes, and I couldn't believe what I just seen, you know? Not just the movie itself, but the ending, because, yeah, it's such a punch in the face. And I think the reason why this ending is so effective is because, what's it called? It's so well made in terms of effects. I don't know if you remember, I told you all earlier that the effects for the headless scene aren't that good, but the rest of the effects are amazing. And with the last scene, they basically, like I like to say, they went all out. So they made it looks like they took all of their budget and made it into this last scene to make it look like as real as possible and as gruesome as possible. And they succeeded because it did. I think that's one of the reasons why it's also so good. Also, talking about their budget, I looked up, and their budget was $8,000, and I think that's incredibly inspiring for someone like me who wants to produce and make and write movies one day. I think that's really inspiring to know that you can make such a good movie like this with only such a small budget. You know, that's really inspiring. In terms of how much profit the movie made, I actually don't know. I couldn't find anything, which made me believe that this movie never released in theaters, but only on DVD, you know, like directly to DVD, sadly. Also, at the end, we actually see Steve escape. He walks away, but we don't know what happens next. So you wonder, did Steve actually escape here? Like, did he manage to get away? We don't know. We can only speculate. I would think so, yes, but that's only my opinion. Also, this movie is extremely realistic, not just because, it's the way it's shot that makes it so realistic, but it's also, like I said, the effects are incredible, and I think also it's a realistic story, if that makes sense. As horrible as it sounds, there are many people who have killed their parents. So many children who have killed their parents, even if Steve is not a child, but still. So it's something that you could read one day in the newspaper. Let's say it like this. Sadly, the reason why this movie is not a masterpiece, so a 10 out of 10, is because of the acting. The acting is not great, let's say it like this. Is it bad? I wouldn't call it bad. One actor is incredibly bad. It isn't good. The only actor who is good is Ethan Philback, so the actor who plays the brother. Thank God, because he is the main attraction, basically. So it's good that he is incredibly good. He plays this psychopath really well. He's a really good actor. But the child who played Marty is also not bad. But the rest of them are not good. Especially David, the child who plays Marty's friend.
Fuck you.
That kid was so bad. I could do a better job. But then again, the movie had an $8,000 budget, so what can you do? Like, how much did they pay the actors, or did they even pay them? Like, David's actor was so bad that the scenes where he was in Loki took me out of the movie for a few seconds. That's how bad he was. That's one thing the movie did not good, but that's the only thing, which means for me this movie is a 9 out of 10. So it's an amazing movie. I can only recommend it, but I have to give you a warning. It's extremely graphic. The effects are really well made. Like I said, the ending is horrific. It has incredible suspense. Like, it gives you, like, it has a weird feeling. It gives you a weird feeling, if that makes sense. And the movie has also incredible writing. So Scott made an incredible job in that way.
Steve kills people all the time.
And the soundtrack is also really good. Like, the graphic novel animation, like I said, the soundtrack for that, incredible, top tier. And yeah, that was it for Found. I wanted to make something different with this review. Please tell me if you like me just speaking to the camera with not that many edits. It's it's something new that I wanted to try, and I would love to hear your opinion about it. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay brave.
I try to move and it hurts all over. All I can do is wonder when I'll be found.